Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Glad to be with you on this another exciting edition of
Living
at
your
highest
highest
quality of
life.
life with the doctors that inspire wellness, Dr. Dan Neides.
Dr. Jessica Hutchins. Hi, everybody.
Always good to be with you. 216-965-9303 is our phone number for all things functional medicine, IVs, peptides, primary care, wellness activities,
PRP.
whatever it is. PRP. Anything and everything we can do to support your quest for the best of health. Please give us a call.
That was a good commercial.
Great to be with everybody, as I've said. And of course, always great to be with you. Thanks for pulling Facebook Live together today. And we're talking about a subject that I know is near and dear to the hearts of many out there. We see a lot of thyroid disease, very specifically autoimmune thyroiditis, also known as Hashimoto's. And so today we want to spend a little bit of time reviewing and then what are some new things that we've learned about Hashimoto's. The thyroid expert.
Thanks.
Oh, it's true. I like your hair. Look how long your hair is.
I know. I was looking. So what I was going to say a minute ago is I went to find our old thyroid video, and I did it probably like 8 years ago, and it's on our YouTube page. So I want to say that please go back and watch that because that has like the basics, and my hair is literally up to here. Yeah, it was so funny. I'm like, who is that?
So cute.
Yeah, I love it. Long like this. Anyway.
Looking great.
So the first video, please go watch. I'll put the link in the comments so you guys can link to it easily because Facebook took off all the videos where they used to be stored there, so they're just on our YouTube channel. And so that video focuses on like more the diagnosis and the different kinds of thyroid dysfunction, like autoimmune versus not autoimmune, what labs to get, etc. So that's not primarily what we're going to be talking about today. I wanted to get into more of the, what different things can you do easily with your lifestyle to try to heal Hashimoto's? And there are a couple new things that I've learned, kind of been forced to research this a little bit more recently, so there are a couple things that I was not so aware of that really do seem to help. And the bottom line is we can't wait for randomized controlled trials of 10,000 people to really show different things that can help or not. So a lot of these things we're getting from practitioners who have tons of thyroid patients, that they're seeing just day in and day out, and it's their recommendations. And these are all things that are harmless. So, we never recommend something that could cause harm when we can help it for sure. So
absolutely. And then also remember the diagnosis of Hashimoto's doesn't necessarily tell you specifically about thyroid function.
Yep.
So people can present with antibodies pointing us in the direction of this autoimmune thyroiditis, but the thyroid function can be anywhere from underperforming, which we know as hypothyroidism, overperforming, which is Graves' disease, hyperthyroidism, and then neutral or euthyroid, spelled euthyroid. Euthyroid is when the thyroid function is normal. So the Hashimoto's is telling you more about the immune response related to the thyroid than it is thyroid function related to the body and its metabolic needs.
All right, there are your definitions. All right, so let's talk about some basic things with lifestyle. So with any kind of autoimmune process in functional medicine, he can recite these things over and over again. I mean, you want to look at foods for sure. And with Hashimoto's, gluten seems to be one of those foods that really is a problem for more people than not. And I hate to say it, but it is worth a trial with every single person with a diagnosis of Hashimoto's to try a gluten-free diet. Just try it. If it works, if you feel better, great. If you don't feel any better at all, then it still might be helpful. You still might want to try it later on once you get some other things in check too. Because I would say probably, over 9 out of 10 people with Hashimoto's, in my experience, when they get off gluten, they feel better. There's also a food sensitivity test to do as well, because maybe there's more foods that you might not feel good eating. But what I want to say is be careful about long-term and food restriction, because very often you can heal the gut, you can heal these things and these food reactions, and then you might be, becoming nutrient deficient because you have all these food restrictions. So whatever diet you set off on at the beginning of Hashimoto's, I feel like probably needs to be a little more strict than the long term. diet.
Right. Well, if I could piggyback a little bit on that, and you're going to talk about ways to try to impact thyroid antibodies. But what's interesting is the thyroid antibodies can be, 50 to 100, which is high, but they can be all the way up to 8 to 10,000. So
Wow,
there's
I've never seen it that high.
it could be thousands versus 50 to 60. But the point I'm making is if we want to try to tackle and reduce the thyroid antibodies, the two ways that I'm familiar with that, and I have seen it in action work is, and you're going to talk about selenium as a supplement, but gluten-free diet is another way. If you have others that you're going to talk about, but those are the two that I always talk about with patients when they're diagnosed with Hashimoto's: gluten-free diet and then adding selenium. So I think that as a nutritional recommendation for patients with Hashimoto's, I think it's a critical recommendation.
And it causes no harm to try it, so
Right.
it's worth a try in 100% of people.
Yep.
I would say,
I
even though
agree.
that might not be the thing for everybody, it's absolutely worth a try for everybody. So, for sure. So again, gluten is the big thing. If I had to say what's the second biggest thing with Hashimoto's patients, dairy, as far as restricting. But again, restrict enough to really see if those, or see what problems or what conditions those cause. And then eventually, long term, I think the goal should be eat real food. Short term and long term, but eventually you should be able to eat more foods in your diet. Some people cut out soy completely with thyroid problems. A lot of the more well-known, like functional medicine thyroid doctors and pharmacists cut out soy. And it really is individual. I mean, some people feel great with soy, some people don't feel great with soy. If you're not eating meat, cutting out soy might be incredibly difficult. So again, just do the tests, do the experiments in your own body and figure it out. But for sure, do a trial of gluten-free. And please eat real food as much as possible, which to me just means food not in a box, not with labels, etc. You don't want to substitute the gluten with all gluten-free crap and cookies and pretzels, and plus it's more expensive that way anyway. So foods can really contribute to the stopping of the antibodies for sure, and healing the gut. So healing the gut is a big trigger for autoimmunity and antibodies. So it's not directly time-wise linked to maybe decreasing antibodies like the selenium and the gluten have been, but for sure, gut, almost probably I could say every Hashimoto's new patient has gut issues. Yeast overgrowth is extremely common. SIBO is extremely common because one of the things that happens with hypothyroidism is your gut motility decreases and you're more constipated. So that's just a breeding ground for all of these organisms that love all the stool in there. So you can look for SIBO, you can look for low stomach acid. That's a really common thing in Hashimoto's. I want to say one more thing about food. Sorry, I'm jumping around. Cruciferous vegetables and what we call goitrogens, which I guess broccoli, cauliflower, maybe soy is one of them. I have to look up the list. Brussels sprouts.
Arugula.
So there are things that sometimes affect thyroid function in some people. I would say the goitrogens, in my clinical experience, are not really that significant. I would say gluten and dairy and sugar is probably way more significant than those. But if you feel like you want to do an experiment with that, take those foods out for a month too. So I just want to mention that. So foods, gut health, stress. Stress is a big one. When you live in that fight, flight, or freeze nervous system mode, the sympathetic nervous system mode, nothing else works right. So you have to get yourself into the parasympathetic mode. And nighttime is probably the most important time when we reset, we regenerate, we detoxify and all that. So deal with your stress, people. Figure it out. Heal things that are causing you daily stress. But that is probably the single biggest piece of advice I can give you for any chronic illness or symptoms is keep your body in the parasympathetic mode as much as possible throughout the day, especially at night. You want to sleep. Not sleeping is not good for anything, obviously. And then toxins. Toxins are always a big deal. Toxins at the cellular level, like inside the cells, really cause problems. And a lot of people think that they have this theory that toxins in the cells can be one of the triggers for autoimmunity. So let's say you have a heavy metal somehow get into a cell. I'm just kind of making this up. And then your immune system sees that cell and thinks there's something wrong with it, and it has to fight it off because it's not normal, right? Or let's say you have a particle of a virus trapped in a cell from chronic Epstein-Barr, which you guys might have heard of. That's the virus that causes mono a lot. Or long COVID, chronic COVID. If you have anything like that in the cell, then your immune system can recognize that cell as foreign and attack it. Sometimes the gluten molecules act in a way where they think that some of the thyroid cells have gluten in them and they attack it. So the immune system's trying to do its job correctly. There just might be other toxins in the environment that cause problems. And another toxin, which I don't think I've talked about much on any of these videos, is fluoride or bromide, or forgetting another one that rhymes with that, but the halogens. So fluoride blocks thyroid hormone production. It also blocks your pineal gland, which, look that up if you don't know what that is. That's a pretty important thing. I personally don't think anybody should be drinking fluoridated water.
What about toothpaste?
Yeah, or toothpaste, or anything where you're introducing it on a regular basis. I personally don't get fluoride treatments at the dentist, but I have a gut feeling that I feel like that treatment once every 6 months or once a year is not even in the same ballpark as drinking fluoride all day long through water. So those are two different things. But filter fluoride out of your water, get well water, bottled water, or something like that, because that really does stress the thyroid. And then chlorine can as well, with chlorine in the water, not necessarily in a pool if you're just swimming for a little while, but our water is chlorinated. That's how it's, the bad stuff's gotten out. It's, well water might not be as much, I guess. I don't know how that works. But so those, again, are toxins that are specific to the thyroid, for sure.
Well, you're asking why well water wouldn't be?
Yeah, I
Because you're
guess.
not adding fluoride.
The chlorine. Chlorine. I don't know how it's, I don't know. I should know that, but I don't. I mean, the nutrient deficiencies are really important for Hashimoto's too. I mean, it's zinc, copper, magnesium's always important. Iodine is very controversial, but is very important. You really do need iodine to make the thyroid hormones, but a lot of times, historically, people with Hashimoto's take large amounts of iodine, and that can actually somehow trigger an autoimmune attack. So I would say be careful with large doses, but we definitely do need iodine because that's how our thyroid hormone is made. Glutathione is really important. Glutathione is one of those ones that I don't go to immediately, like selenium is one of those ones that we automatically associate with Hashimoto's, but glutathione isn't necessarily, but it really is showing to become more and more important. And glutathione's our master detoxifier to get rid of all the toxins we're exposed to all the time. Thiamine is another vitamin that kind of was newer on my radar, that a lot of people are seeing clinically relevant when you replace thiamine. A lot of the hypothyroid symptoms can go away, and it may be linked to decreasing antibodies as well. So it's just not B1 isn't something that I usually pay a lot of attention to, honestly. Anything else with vitamin deficiencies for the
about D?
the thyroid? Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. D is extremely important in any kind of autoimmune condition, for sure. It's an integral part of our immune system, and most people are low on that. So get yours tested. Optimal levels of that would be about 50 to 100. So supplement if you need it. I wrote down a list of different foods that have selenium in it.
I see cabbage.
Oh, wait, you know what? No, I'm sorry. I can't read my notes. That's inositol. That was the other new therapy I wanted to talk about. So myo-inositol. Have you heard of that at all? So I use inositol for PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, sometimes for just insulin resistance type picture, and premenopausal women especially. And that's really what I knew that it was for. I had no idea it was associated with any benefit in Hashimoto's at all. But it turns out, and I bet you don't know this, that if you if you take myo-inositol with selenium, that drastically changes the antibody reduction, if those things are going to cause antibody reduction in people.
Okay. What's the dose?
And it's the inositol, it's different, around 500 or 600 milligrams. You can get it in powder. That's usually how I use it for PCOS, is in powder.
That's where I remember it.
I'm not sure anybody has the exact dose, but I definitely have read that 500 or 600 milligrams has helped people clinically. So the dose is probably still up in the air, but I never knew that before, that actually helps selenium. And it has something to do with the intracellular calcium flux going in and out of the cell.
Okay.
There's a whole chemistry
So you
behind it.
add
It's
that.
not something
Got it.
random, yeah. So that, the thiamine, and then red light therapy as well. I'll get back to those foods in a second. But red light therapy is something I wanted to mention too. There's a lot of functional medicine thyroid experts right now really, really, really pushing red light therapy for the thyroid specifically. So it probably increases blood flow and vasculature and healing and all that. And it's pretty easy to have a mask on there. If you're red lighting your whole body, it's a little bit harder, but they make tons of masks where you could cover the thyroid. So look into that. As far as we know, there's not side effects to that. Have you ever heard of side effects for red light therapy?
Yeah.
And it's pretty affordable, honestly. So that food list that I was about to read were actually the foods that were high in inositol. And I didn't even know that that was a thing in food. I should have. I'm learning a lot,
Cabbage?
learning about this. So beans, peas, brown rice, nuts, cantaloupe, bananas, and cabbage were the main foods that showed up for
Can
inositol.
read it again? Slower.
Beans, peas, brown rice, nuts, cantaloupe, banana, and cabbage.
So
And
these are high in inositol, so
And then-
pairing them with the selenium.
what foods are high in
Brazil
selenium?
nuts.
Brazil nuts.
So Brazil nuts, you can eat 2 Brazil nuts a day or 200 micrograms of selenium as a supplement. But now you're saying maybe add some of these other
Yeah,
foods to
yeah.
try to increase the selenium uptake.
And anytime you can get nutrients through food, I feel like that's always
Yes.
better than through supplements.
Yes,
So try
yes, I
with
agree.
foods for sure, and then make sure you're chewing up and digesting your food as well. So
I
that's
agree.
that's what I have there. So
Excellent.
just
Thank you.
different techniques, therapies, lifestyle things that you could do that are super easy. None of these things are hard to do. Please work with functional medicine people as well. If you're interested in any of this, normal medical, Western medical trained doctors do not really do anything different if you have Hashimoto's versus not Hashimoto's thyroid problem.
And look
So-
for toxins. I try to identify. There's a great test from Vibrant that can do a deep dive looking at 84 different toxins, metals, mold, plastics, pesticides.
That's where you found out
herbicides.
your potato chip toxin.
Yeah, so there's other ways that you can try to assess, certainly MTHFR status, homocysteine level. I mean, there's ways that we can tell at a higher level, but if we really want to get into the weeds, there's some testing that we can look at the specific toxins within the body and then figure out ways to bind and eliminate based on those results. So the other thing that I would ask about would be imaging. How often do you image with ultrasound
That's a great
someone with
question.
Hashimoto's? I think we should have at least a baseline if you have that diagnosis. Is there a recommendation every 2 to 3 years?
I've never read a recommendation
So,
for
I
that.
don't-
I mean, certainly not in regular medicine. I don't
Right.
think there's
But
a
but at least a
recommendation,
baseline.
I think
So-
a baseline's a great idea. Nodules are extremely common. Nodules are inflammation. They're inflammatory, so that does increase the cancer risk a little bit. Nodules can, I guess, turn into cancer. So if you have a baseline of what your nodules are and you need a ultrasound later on, at least you'll have something to compare it to. I would feel your thyroid every now and again or have a doctor feel it, because if you feel a nodule, for sure get an ultrasound. But ultrasound is definitely the recommended imaging, which is way less harmful than a CAT scan. So.
Excellent.
All
Excellent.
right.
That
So
was
again, I'll
great.
put the link from our old Facebook Live with my short hair from 8 years ago in the comments. And feel free, if any of you guys personally have Hashimoto's or know a family member with it and there's something that I didn't mention or something I did mention that really seemed to be the thing that helped them the most, just write it. Just remember, it takes a village to get through all these crazy diseases and labels that we're all finding everybody has now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that review. Greatly appreciate it. And I just wanted to shout out 2 special birthdays. My dad is turning 86 on Thursday. Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday, Gary.
And my father-in-law, Jessica's dad,
Happy
turned
birthday,
76 last Saturday. So our father's birthday week. So just want to wish them both happy,
Yay,
healthy,
dads.
and hope this coming year is the best one ever for you guys. So
Oh, I love it.
love you guys. Let me get our music going and we can say goodbye. 216-965-9303. Please call if we can help. If you want to meet with either of us regarding thyroid, if you're interested in doing a toxins deep dive, if you've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's and don't have a functional medicine doctor looking through some of these areas to try to help you navigate, then please give us a call. Remember, it's your time to thrive. Let us inspire you. Love you all.
Bye. Love you
Continue to
guys.
have a great summer.